We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but even from that distance, we can clearly see what's wrong with the offense. And we're going to tell you everything about it and how to fix it. So welcome to On the Shane page. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. And I'm joined by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
You caught me off guard there.
Something the Eagles offense never does, by the way.
Yeah, very good. Oh, Shane's firing today. Yeah, the internet speed's very good. The door's open. So let's see if we don't buffer for every 10 points a day. If I do have any problems live, the podcast recording is always perfect. So please go check that out. Yeah, I'm doing well. Like, this team is destroying me in some ways. For those fans that watch the game, I'm not watching that back. I literally have to watch it more than once. I have to record about it. I have to write about it. It's a bit boring when the same things that I'm seeing are happening. But I must admit, last week I was a bit apathetic about the whole thing. This week I was a bit angry, especially on offense. And we'll get into why, because to me, it's just not that hard, some of it. And we're not coaches here, Shane. We're fans that watch it. But I really feel like I've got a few points this week that I'd struggle for anyone to disagree with me, because I feel like I can show it very clearly. And I like it when that happens. I like it when the answers present themselves to you. And I think two of my points in particular today, especially about the offense, I feel really good about. So we always say we're going to be quick. We always say the offense doesn't deserve to start with us. But you know what, Shane? The defense doesn't deserve anything this week either. So should we just do the offense? Should we just get it out of the way? Patudo's obviously not been fired. From what they say, they're not making changes. Patudo's press conferences, I think, make me more annoyed. And we spoke about that a couple of weeks ago as well. I don't think he speaks well, and I don't care about how someone sounds in the press conference, but it annoys me just because I feel like he doesn't recognize the issues, which are obvious. I'm not going to go through the offensive stats, but you know how bad they are. They are historically inept in certain ways for a team with this much talent. So shall we just get into the offense and talk about some bad, and we'll do some good, because there was actually a little bit of glimmer of hope in this one. If anything, that makes it more annoying because it's just you should be better. But yeah, where do you want to start?
Yeah, that offense is perfectly fine with me. Let's start with the interception. That's my first point. I put out a Twitter thread, or not a Twitter thread, excuse me, a Twitter video. So a lot of you might have seen that, but for those of you that aren't on Twitter, you might not have seen me talk about the interception. And so I've got an 8-minute video on Twitter, but I'll kind of run through my thoughts on the interception for the podcast crew. And so real briefly, and I don't want to make too much of an interception that's Jalen's first interception in over 300 pass attempts, which, by the way, I called. As soon as they said, he's been 278 passes without an interception and it leads the NFL, I said, oh, that's the announcer's curse. We're getting a pick in this game. And we did. But there's a lot that goes into this. First of all, there's poor procedure from the team. They get to the line with about 10 seconds on the play clock. And because they get to the line so late, and because they're going silent count, the defense has the opportunity to disguise things. This is going to be a cover zero blitz, but they're not all up on the line because they know they can wait until Tyler Steen turns and taps the center, and then we're immediately going because there's 2 seconds left on the play clock at that point. And so that's annoying because it doesn't give you time. You can go silent count and get to the line with 20 seconds and run that fake and see how the defense moves and then get into your play call. There's things like that you can do. So procedurally, there's some issues. Design-wise, I don't like it. And so the Eagles run Dotson on the out route, and they've got Dallas Goedert on a curl route, and Devontae Smith on a motion route that does nothing because the Eagles never do anything with motion, and then A.J. Brown on a crossing route. And so this looks like it could be cover 1 or cover 0. And I think there's clues that it's cover 0. For example, you don't have outside leverage from your cornerbacks to funnel to the inside help like you would in cover 1. This safety being over the top of the tight end and Jahan Dotson instead of over the two good receivers maybe maybe tips you off that this is cover 0. Okay, so on cover 0 or cover 1, Jahan Dotson's route should win versus both. It's an out route against man coverage with no help, regardless of whether it's cover 1 or cover 0. That said, it's Jahan Dotson. Maybe that's not the guy we want to scheme to in that situation. The problem with A.J. Brown's route is if it does happen to be cover 1, he's running into a safety. And so the only route that can work if this happens to be cover 1 is Dotson. So I get why Hurts starts there. Like, I would just suggest a simple change to this play is just to put Dallas Goedert on like a slant route. Because now, if it's cover 0, there's nobody in the middle, and this is an easy throw to Goddard with a safety playing off coverage. And if it's cover 1, you still get the opportunity for him to clear, and you're kind of creating some conflict in the middle. So I think it's bad procedure. It's bad design. I think the read to throw it to Jahan Dotson is fine. It's just an out-breaking route that's left high and inside, and you can't do that. And so it turns into an interception. And I don't think we have to make it into a referendum on Hurts that it's not. He doesn't turn down A.J. Brown. He never progresses to A.J. Brown because the Dotson route is open. Now, if you knew it was cover 1, if you knew it was cover 0, maybe you want to throw it to A.J. Brown there because the safety is vacating. But you've also got a guy coming into your lap there because the protection doesn't play out the best either. And so I think it's poor procedure. It's poor design. It's a poor throw. Ultimately, I think the read was fine, though. And I just think there's bigger things to talk about than screenshotting A.J. Brown coming open after the ball's already out of Hurts' hands and saying, oh, he should have thrown it to A.J. So that's my little thing on the interception. I go into it some more on the Twitter video, and we've talked about it a lot in the Discord and drawn up some design things. But that's my thoughts on the interception.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to say nice things about you, but I think you smashed it, Shane. I watched your video on Twitter. I gave you a comment on my BGN article and said I'm openly just stealing all of your analysis, which I did. I linked your Twitter and said, I'm just going to write what Shane said because he basically called it exactly how I see it. There's so much good stuff from Kurt Warner this week on QB screenshots and QB misses, and without knowing how they're coached and the read, please stop talking about wide open receivers down the field. Like, it drives me insane. There are things that we can analyze and there are things that we can guess. But if he is told, if they get cover 1, which he thinks they get, Dotson's route is the first read, there is no reason why he would ever look at AJ Brown. Like, end of. You can post all the screenshots in the world, guys. Like, it's not where he's going. You can have a discussion about should he be coached to do that, and is it a safe thing to keep targeting outside the numbers, and should they be a bit more like direct in the middle of the field and have more first reads centrally? That's fine. You can have that discussion, but you can't just post a guy open and say basically like, he should have gone here because he's open. It's not how these things work, sadly. He's thrown 1 pick in 6 weeks. So as you said, interceptions will happen. Do you know what? It might be a good thing to do it and not have it hanging over him like he might go a whole season with it. Like, you know what I mean? That kind of media narrative that suddenly starts to build. Right, I'm going to talk about run game because I actually think, and this might surprise people, the run game annoyed me more than the pass game this week. The run game was okay, but it was only okay because they had 2 good Saquon Barkley runs. And if you take out those 2 runs, the run game was a disaster again. And the pass game, like, there are lots of moving parts. There are lots of pieces where I can understand why they're trying different things. And Hurts isn't playing well, maybe, and maybe he's missing 1 or 2 throws. And run game is like, I don't get the excuse. They've got a fantastic running back. Whatever you think of the offensive line, it is more than serviceable at worst. And they've got still a tight end 1 who can block. So the run game is ruining me. I've called it run game and sequencing this week. So I'm going to talk about run game twice, actually. My first one's going to be sequencing. You know, I said at the start, I think I've got a couple of things that just no one can argue with me about. Click on play 1 of my film thread, Shane. You probably know where I'm going with this because it's called run game and sequencing. If you pause it pre-snap, the Giants have got 6 in the box against 11 personnel. The safeties are very deep. And the Eagles decide they're going to remember this thing called pin pull, which, you know, we named that whole network about. And they're going to pin, is it 94? Brett Tooth's going to pin wherever the defensive tackle is on 97. And Juergens is going to pull, because this is when Juergens is good. Not from under center, not having to deal with Dexter Lawrence one-on-one, but being able to get out in space. And they run it, and is it the best run of the year they've had? Was it 17 or 18 yards or something? it wasn't even blocked perfectly, but look at Cam Jurgens on the move, look at Steen, and anyone that worries about the running game. I think Saquon Barkley looks phenomenal. I've seen zero fitness health issues from last year. He looks as explosive as he ever has to me. Like, this is a fantastic run. And then here's the thing, Shane. The very next drive, and I was watching the film, and I almost wanted to cry at this point. They line up play 2, sorry, Shane. The very next drive, they line up in the exact same position, literally identical. If you pause it now, what have you noticed about the box this time?
Extra guy in it.
Look at the safeties. They are seeing Pistol. They are seeing Dallas Goedert. They are seeing exactly what we are seeing on film. And I know this isn't ideal for a video podcast, Shane, but if you pause it just after the snap, right? Just after the snap, maybe a second later, watch the 2 linebackers. They are flying downhill. They are not even considering the idea this might be a pass, Shane. If Hurts boots out here, there is nobody there. Look at the amount of space they've got. You have got any slants. Look at the safety as well, by the way. He is flying. And guess what? And yes, by the way, you can go, well, it's not for design because Jordan Mailata gets blown up. But you know what? It's harder to block when look at the way the Giants defender plays this. I think it's Brian Burns. He knows they're not running outside him. He knows it's not play action. The whole defense knows what's coming. Watching the linebackers trigger on this was infuriating because if you boot this, you are like, the amount of space you're going to have, Shane, is bizarre to me. Like, why would you not use what you did on the first drive to make things easier? I mean, honestly, if you just pause it again just before he hands it off, like, look at the linebackers here. They're gone. They're fully gone. Like, it's basically game over if you run any sort of play action here. And to me, I watched this and I was like, it's madness. They have one successful play from pistol, pin pull, which they haven't run much this year. And what do they immediately think? Let's do it again. Rather than think, how do we build off this success? You can't build off success if you run the same play again. And there were other examples I could have pulled in this game. Everyone's seen like the tweets online from loads of guys, Baldy, Emmanuel Acho, speaking about how predictable they are when they run a certain way. And we know that when they're in pistol, they don't run play action. We know that the numbers are absurd. But that one just infuriated me because it was the same formation, the exact same run, even down to a T of Dallas Goedert on the right, pulling Cam Jurgens. It was identical. And when you watch the Giants linebackers trigger on it, for those wondering why we don't run play action, I don't know. I think it would work if they did it there, and they just choose not to.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. And it kind of feeds in a bit to my second point. I want to talk about just some of the details and design in this offense. And, you know, this is a team that preaches details and they preach accountability. And first of all, I'm just going to roll this, but I want you to notice the Eagles go empty in this game 3 times with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith close to the box. And all 3 times they run the exact same play. It's a little slot out route to A.J. Brown with nothing else in play. 2 times they run it in a row. So A.J. Brown gets that catch, and then they come back and say, hey, you know what? What if we go with the same alignment, the same thing, but this time the Giants are sitting on it, and there's nothing else there. There's no other route that's in play. It's just slot out, win, or we're dead. At least on this last one, Goddard kind of runs a slant route at the bottom of the screen, so there's hypothetically something coming to the middle of the field that Hurts can progress to, but same exact play, same exact alignment, 3 times in the same game. And the defense just sits on it, and you don't have a second route that you can throw to. Then we get into some other details. This is 3rd and 8 in the first quarter, and this is your 2 best receivers on 3rd and 8 running 3-yard hitch routes that even if they were open are well short of the sticks. And then your wide receiver 3 running a dig route into a middle of field safety that's not conflicted because you have no routes in that area, while your tight end jogs out a go route. No chance for any of that to ever work. Jalen Hurts gets sacked. Then, this is a 1st and 10, and the Eagles are going to run a 2-man route concept. 2 guys on routes. The Giants are rushing 4. So the Giants have 7 guys to cover 2. And by the way, when nobody is rushing, your 2 tight ends just stand here. They don't even leak out to be a secondary option. Look at all this space at the top of the field. And then when they do finally go out, they just go to the same place, and one
This
of them
plays a
doesn't even
comedy
look
show,
back
isn't it?
for the ball. Like Cameron
Yeah.
Latu looks like he's trying to go block. He never even looks for the ball, and you end up scrambling out and throwing the ball. Yeah, I mean, you get a catch, whatever, but just terrible. Then let's go to mesh, the Eagles staple. Watch this mesh between Jahan Dotson and Dallas Goedert. They couldn't even reach out and touch each other. They're so far apart. And so it's easy to get past it. Hurts gets sacked because we don't execute our core concept. A couple more here. Let's go to this one where you're going to keep your tight end into chip block to help Lane Johnson. Your running back also stays into block, so you're blocking 7 against 4 rushers again. So we're not getting guys out on routes. Everybody's double covered. And then finally, this one's my favorite. Let's go to a 4th and 4 at the end of the game. What concept are you going to dial up for 4th and 4? Let's go empty, and let's run 2 slant routes directly into the curl route from a spacing concept on the other side of the ball. If your inside slant route wins, guess what? He's covered because he's running right into another player. Your outside slant route will never win because the safety is sitting over the top of it and is going to dive down because there's no vertical threat. And then you've got 3 curl routes all to the backside. Now Hurts rips the ball with anticipation to Devontae Smith, who literally is still being held by the cornerback when Hurts separates to throw because there's no other option. And so the Eagles' design is atrocious. The Eagles' details is atrocious. And this offense, like, it's just unbelievable how elementary and how bad this offense is.
The 3rd and 8 play, you sort of glossed over it, Shane. You were too nice. It's a joke. It's like, as I said, we are not coaches. I am not pretending to know any more than anyone in the NFL, but it is laughably bad. Watch Saquon Barkley run out the backfield here, by the way. Like, I don't understand. I genuinely don't get it. Like, the second, all you got to do is put 6 on the line of scrimmage and then drop 2 of them. And what do you get? You get 4/2 and 4/2, both sides. Or 3/2, 3/2 and a deep safety. You can't beat zone like that. You can't win. There is nothing you can do versus zone. And I think the absolute worst one is the play action one you mentioned, where the 2 receivers running routes. You've literally got 2 tight ends standing there. You're playing with 9 men. If you watch the whole rep from Dallas Goedert and Cameron Latu, they literally are irrelevant. They don't need to be there. You are playing 9 versus 11. And then when they run out, they run to the same place, and then you're playing 10 versus 11. There is zero chance. Like, you've got a good offensive line in pass protection. The Giants are good. Either use them to chip, but when they're sending 4, leave 5 into block. You can't beat zone like that. And by the way, they did beat zone sometimes in this game, and I'll show you how later on in some of the good stuff that they did. So it's not in the playbook. It's just they are obsessed with these 2x2 things still, which is driving me insane because we were there last year as well, and it seemed to get better. And now it's got worse again. I'm going to aptly call my second point, Shane. What's the point? And if you have these plays on film, you're more than welcome to show them, but I don't care if you do or not because it's not the plays that matter themselves. So how many QB counter bash runs did the Eagles run in this game, Shane?
1.
How many 6 offensive lineman snaps did they run?
1.
What's the point? I'm genuinely asking, like, what's the point? As an offense, why would you run one play of one thing? Why would you go, we're going to run one QB run counter bash in this game? Just one.
And it works. Your QB just reads it wrong. He's got 25 yards if he reads it right. And your 6-0 line play works too. You get 6 or 7 yards.
And you know what? Even if it doesn't work, if you've worked on it, if you've repped it, why are you running any single one play at once? Unless it's like a 4th and 1, it's like a special trick shot, like a special like fake, like outside toss or whatever, like a reverse. I get it. You can run fake plays then. So Hurts reads this badly. And I'm going to say something nasty that would annoy lots of people on the show. But I don't pay Jalen Hurts as a franchise quarterback if I'm not running him. And that may surprise people because I am now seen as a pro Hurts guy. I don't think Hurts is good enough as a pocket passer to be a top 5 paid guy at the position if he doesn't run. Like, don't turn him into a pocket passer. That's not who he is. He's a mobile quarterback who makes really good decisions. Most of the time, it doesn't turn the ball over. The play's blocked really well, as you pointed out. There's a big hole. If you're worried about Hurts getting hit, Don't. He can get hit in the pocket. He can slide. He's a big guy. He can take care of himself. Saquon Barkley had like 300 carries last year. He's all right. If you're worried about Jalen Hurts getting hit, don't pay a mobile quarterback, as far as I'm concerned. The Bills don't seem to be too worried about Josh Allen. The Chiefs don't worry about Mahomes running more than ever this year. The Ravens didn't worry when Lamar was running all the time. And I know he's pulled a hamstring, but it's not exactly down to getting hit either. And then they run this 6 offensive line, and it works like really well. They pick up 6 yards. It's not the best run in the world. It's 1st and 10, Shane. 3rd quarter, down 3 with 13 minutes left. There are so many other times you could run 6 offensive line. If you've had 6 offensive line once from under center, what might you do, Shane? Like a couple of drives later, or even on the same drive? Here's
run
a
play
radical
action off
idea.
of it.
You run play action off it. Like, anyone ever watched any other games in the NFL?
The Eagles don't send 5 out on routes anyways. Just put a 6th offensive lineman on the field and run play action.
But just ignoring that, and I titled it like, what's the point? I'd love to ask the Eagles coaching staff, can I ask you what the point is of running 1 snap off 6 offensive line? It's the whole idea of offense is you sequence things together. That's the whole point. So if you're running 1 singular play, I would genuinely love someone to ask Kevin Patullo and say, just out of interest, why did you run 6 offensive line once? Because it worked. Do you not then think, oh, it's worked, we can build off it? Offense is all about having a successful start and then building off it and sequencing and making the defense not know what's coming. The Eagles had the easiest chance in the world. They've gone under center, which they always do. They've run, which they always do. And they've actually got a successful play. And even then, they've not done it again. I find that sort of mad. To me, you have like your primary runs, like your runs you're going to run a lot. And yes, you might have a few like randomly like isolation plays occasionally, but QB counter bash and 6 offensive line shouldn't be just like a one-off. You can use that to build off it. So yeah, I'd love someone to ask the coach, why would you run 2 plays once the whole game and not come back to them when they work? But sadly, I can't ask him. So we will never know his answer, but maybe that 6-yard run was worth it for that one occasion. If you're Fred Johnson, you're sitting on the sideline like, guys, it worked. Let me back in. But there we go.
I'm going to assume even if somebody asked him, we still wouldn't know, just based on how he answers questions. But yeah. So, all right. My third point on the offense is how to fix the offense. And
we get some positivity, or very briefly, anyway.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me give some context first. So then we'll get positive. In the second half of games this year, the Eagles offense ranks 32nd in EPA per play, 28th in success rate, 31st in points per drive, 29th in drives that fail to gain a first down, and 32nd in yards per drive. Okay, now we can get positive. So how do we fix it? I have a simple 7-step plan. Okay, are you ready for this? You can interject as well. Step 1, demote Kevin Patullo.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say the season is over if they don't get rid of Patullo, because the rest of the things I'm going to talk about are so dumbfoundingly simple that surely he's going to do it, but I've seen no sign of it. So demote Kevin Patullo. Step 1. Number 2, let's run empty some more, but run more than 1 play out of empty, right? Empty is a cheat code, and I've talked about it so much. It's been a point of so many of these shows for me, but you spread the defense. You force the defense to declare their coverage structure, where the pressure is coming from pre-snap. It simplifies post-snap reads for your quarterback. It creates horizontal separation that can lead to vertical shots. It can lighten the box for the quarterback running game. The only negative is that it takes away the ability to hand the ball to Saquon Barkley. But that's not doing anything right now anyways. And you can build things where you motion him from a receiver spot and snap him at the mesh point, and you could do some run plays. So run empty like 8 times a game. Ditch 12 personnel. I literally don't ever want to see a second tight end on the field again this season. If you want to get heavy and run the ball, put Dallas Goedert on the field and put Fred Johnson on the field and run the ball. And then throw some play action passes off of that. You mentioned it earlier. You got to run Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not a pocket quarterback. If you're going to use him as such, then he is not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I don't say that to hate on Jalen Hurts. I say that because what his legs can do in the running game, even if he's not running a lot, is his superpower. That and his deep ball. And if you're taking away the ability to run, then you're kneecapping the whole thing before it starts. And the second half of that superpower is his deep ball. And the Eagles aren't pushing the ball downfield. In this game, Hurts attempted 5 passes downfield of 20-plus air yards. He completed 3. He got a DPI on the 4th, and then he had the overthrow that would have been an 89-yard touchdown, and he's normally going to make that throw, and he just missed it this game. But the Eagles are at their best pushing the ball downfield outside the numbers. So run Hurts, push the ball downfield, run some gap scheme runs, like stick with it and build some play action off of it. The Eagles are so much better running gap scheme than they are zone scheme. And they've just gone from like 37% of their plays being gap scheme runs last year to only 21% this year. So you've got to bring gap scheme back. And then I went through this in the Patreon video. A lot of the plays that the Eagles ran, I just like changed one route and talked about how changing that one route would make the play viable. And it still wouldn't be my favorite, but it would be a lot better. They need to look at the design and design routes that break at different depths, where it's not just hitch route to hitch route on the other side that broke at the same time that we've got no chance to throw and then scramble. You've got to build some things in here. Hit some easy buttons for your quarterback. And there's no reason this offense can't get back on track. The offensive line is not that bad. Your skill position players are good. Like, everything is here except a cohesive strategy to pull it all together, which goes back to number 1. They got to get rid of Kevin Patullo.
Yep. And my goodness, I'm looking through my thread and I realized I didn't even talk about the play in the run game where they decided to run behind Devontae Smith as a lead blocker and AJ Brown, who AJ Brown literally doesn't block in the run game. I don't know how much you've noticed this, but
yeah,
like the guy doesn't block. And do you know what? You can argue if you care or not right now, but he doesn't block. Yeah, I'm meant to get positive, Shane, but if I'm designing an offense, I'm never running behind Devontae Smith there and AJ Brown there. Let's do my final point on offense.
By the way, can we just point this out? On this play, on this screenshot, the Eagles are at the line of scrimmage and they're set, and they could snap the football. And look at the Giants. We've got 2 guys on the line, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 guys over the right side and 1 guy over the left. Where do you think this run went?
Yeah, still run to the right.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, my final thing is because I'm bored of talking rubbish. We've got a comment, by the way, at Tony. Tony, we'll get to it in a second, actually. We weren't going to, but when we finish, I will very quickly do that play, seeing as you mentioned it and you're in the comments.
I went into it on my past game review.
It's all fair enough. It's also more detail on Patreon. I'll give my very quick sort of thoughts on it. I labeled my last thing like the good stuff. There was some good stuff this week, and I don't want to be that guy who just says do more of the good stuff. It's not that, but it's do more of the things that work. So you mentioned a few of them. Play 6 is an obvious one to me. I'm going to show just 2 plays because I want to get into a defense. This is empty. Now, Shane, what's the Eagles' biggest problem this year on offense? It's going against what?
Zone coverage.
Zone coverage. Right. Well, anyone that's ever played Madden knows that when you put when you put a tight end or a running back outside, if they're playing zone, they will often leave a cornerback out there because it's zone coverage. So therefore, the linebackers stay in the middle of the field. So when you play zone and the Eagles line up AJ Brown and Devontae Smith like this, you're basically going to be able to get a linebacker on a wide receiver. It's sort of that simple. Not many teams will do it differently because cornerbacks don't know how to play like hook zones in the middle of the field. Linebackers don't know how to play like deep thirds on the outside. So if you're playing zone, you sort of have to have linebackers here. Some teams can change it around a little bit. There are things that defenses can do to counter this. But for the most part, if you go empty, you will get Devontae Smith and AJ Brown against linebackers if they play in the slot, if they are playing zone. And this works really well. Like, pass protection is really good. This is how you beat zone. You create a one-on-one matchup. They're a bit unlucky not to score, actually. Again, there's stuff the Eagles do well, which is good. And it's just infuriating that they don't do more of it. And the second play I want to show is play 11, which is one of the only times I've seen the Eagles run a purposeful motion all season long. They use AJ Brown in motion here, and they get him running off the line of scrimmage, which is awesome. And what happens is he gets a really good vertical stretch or horizontal stretch almost instantly because he's running at the line of scrimmage. Look how quickly he gets off the line of scrimmage here. So what does he do? He takes away both the Giants' deep defenders. And what do they end up with, Shane? Not a 2x2. But when Hurts releases the ball, how many players have they got to the left-hand side of the field in Hurts' throwing lane all at once?
Yeah, 4.
4. That's how you beat zone coverage. The only backside route is Devontae Smith, who, by the way, if you look at Devontae Smith, Shane, is wide open. Not blaming Hurts because it's not his read. But wouldn't you see this and go, oh, why don't we try that again? And this time tell Hurts to keep an eye on the isolated route. But of course they don't. They do it once because it works once. And I know you have to run the exact same play the same again, but you can do this in a different way. You can dress it up differently. When the Eagles have purposeful motion and when they actually like do something that's not just 2x2, there are some obvious wins. They had a great shot to AJ Brown down the side. I didn't think Hurts played that terribly in this game. I thought it was like a 6 out of 10. So there were things that were good this week. It's just the bad stuff is so annoying. So annoying. Like, it's so bad. It's like they go from a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 offense to a 1 or a 2. Let's very quickly, Tony, if you don't mind, because I want to get to the defense. Shane's already reviewed it, as he mentioned on Patreon. I won't go into too much detail. I would
real
just
quick
say,
before you do that,
sorry,
can I throw one more up here? This is a beautiful design. It's my favorite design I've seen on a play this season because now it just simplifies to a go ball to AJ Brown against single high, but
the play's nice.
The play's nice because you have Dallas Goedert on a whip route, you have Devontae Smith on a crossing route, and you have Jahan Dotson on a dig route.
Yep.
And so you know what you can do.
Every read within vision.
You alert AJ Brown, and if you decide not to throw that, you can read this 1 to 2 to 3, and it's literally the only play in 6 games where I've seen 4 reads that are actually in play. And
not
so
2x2. Yeah.
it gets glossed over because it's just a go ball to AJ Brown.
Yeah.
But the design, like, I can live with that.
They do good stuff. There is some good stuff there. I mean, they're professional coaches. It's just the other stuff's just so annoying. Right, just very quickly, Tony, and I don't even think you need to necessarily show it that much. If you've got it available, you can. I think it's a really easy play to break down, actually. I think it's a bad throw by Hurts. The reason why it's a bad throw is he should read busted coverage now before he's even released the ball. And the second you read busted coverage, you never overthrow. You always make sure you underthrow it, if anything. Sometimes it annoys me because teams don't score. However, I don't think Devontae Smith runs a very good route either. And I think Devontae Smith does not do a good enough job getting back outside. And this has happened before with this offense. You are often told to throw go balls more towards the sideline because you want to avoid the single high safety. And if you watch how badly Devontae Smith gets pushed off here, he doesn't ever get back outside. He sort of drifts. And if you actually look, he doesn't miss him by far. So I basically think, Tony, it's not a good route. It's not a great play by Devontae Smith, but it's a far worse play by Jalen Hurts. Just because you're pointing out context to a play, and I actually haven't seen your past game analysis, Shane, what you think of this, but just because you are saying there are mitigating factors and there is context, doesn't mean you think it's not a bad play. I think it's a very bad play by the quarterback, but I think it speaks to a more of an issue with design or individuals not maybe playing or not taking advantage of the finer details of what they should be doing. How did you see it? Just very quickly, and then we'll do defense.
Yeah, same. I think Devontae Smith should do a better job of pushing back outside. I think it's close, but ultimately you just got to hit that throw.
Yep.
And he normally does.
Final comment from Yako. At what point do they intervene? I'm surprised they haven't. I'm genuinely surprised they haven't. My guess is, when's he was bye week this week? This year?
2 more weeks. They get Vikings
so
and then
I think
Giants.
they're waiting. I think they're giving them 2 weeks. To answer your question, they can't waste it. They'd be absolutely mental to waste any year with Lane Johnson on this offense. When you've got Lane Johnson, you've already seen what can happen to a window and injuries very quickly. Look at the Lions and losing Ben Johnson and stuff. We lost Kellen Moore obviously last year. Whenever you have a chance, you try and win it. They should be trying to win it this year because they've got a franchise quarterback, an extremely talented offense, and the best right tackle, arguably, of all time, who maybe has 2 or 3 years left maximum. So I'm surprised they haven't intervened. I think they have probably been giving them 2 weeks, would be my guess.
Yeah, and the problem with doing that, instead of doing it on the mini bye now, when you go Giants, Vikings, and then full bye, or Vikings, Giants, and then the full bye, you do it at the bye, you come out and you go at Green Bay versus Detroit at Dallas. And so you've got 3 really tough games back to back to back right after the bye. I mean, Dallas's defense stinks, but still, it's wasting time, and it's a move that should have been made.
Yep, I agree with you. Right, let's get this defense over the or underway, should I say? This was a bad defensive game. Um, what do you want to talk about first on D?
Yeah, let's flip it over to the defense, and I'm going to talk about the Eagles' poor efforts at containing Jackson Dart. I pointed out last week
Done this
that
all year,
Jackson,
haven't we?
yeah,
All year.
yeah,
All year. This defense doesn't do it well.
yeah, Jackson Dart is a scrambler. He scrambles for 55 yards a game coming into this game, and you have to pay close attention to that. And the Eagles just didn't. And so on this first play, by the way, Ty Robinson, really nice move on the interior here that gets wasted. And I think Jalix Hunt has a nice rush around the edge too, but you walk Zach Bond up to the A gap and then drop him out, which means that Moro Ojimo has to push the pocket here. So he's on the hash mark. He needs to be crashing inside. Watch his rush path. Look how wide he ends up. And so that's a terrible job by Ojomo, and it really wastes a nice rush rep by both Ty Robinson and Jalix Hunt. Zach Bond gets juked out of his shorts by Jackson Dart, and he's off to the races for a touchdown. Here on this next one, this is going to be, if you watch Jalix Hunt, this is going to be like a fake screen, a pump and go. And he definitely thinks this is an actual screen because he like fully disengages and runs out to the flat. And it just gives you a lane to rush. Now, I'm not going to like hate that too much because if that were a screen pass and he retraces that and makes a great play, I'm calling that a great play. So, but still, it's a pattern in this game that you're just unable to stay home and keep Dart in the pocket. On this one, it's going to be the little read that the Eagles like to run, where you get the tight end pulling across the formation. And to me, I'm teaching my edge rusher to hit the tight end, because if you go over the tight end, the quarterback is going to pull it like Dart does here. If you go under the tight end, they're going to hand it off. I'm saying just hit the tight end and make it a hard read, but he's just not even really involved here. And Dart gets outside. Now he does recover and tackle him, but it's still like a 6-yard gain. And that's not the only time that we see that in this game. We're going to see it again from Zadarius Smith. May he rest in peace. But first, let's get to Zadarius Smith with a really bad contain. Look at that. Like, what are you doing against a mobile quarterback? Why are you just like halfway throwing a spin move against a bad right tackle and giving him an easy escape lane? Just really bad. 3rd and 3. Gets the first down. And then we get Zadarius Smith again off of the left side of the screen. And this time it's going to be him that should be hitting this tight end that comes across the formation here.
Yeah, to be fair, he was on the beach. That guy.
Yeah.
That
like,
guy
hit
did
him.
not want to take on pulling guards this week. He was
That's
done.
not a guard, though. It's a tight end.
He's
Go light
done.
him
He
up.
retired a day later. Or a few days later. The man was finished. Sorry.
But yeah, the Eagles just did a really bad job containing the quarterback in this game. And it's something we talked about last week that they needed to pay a lot of attention to, and they just didn't, and it cost them.
I hit it on the preview. Big time with that. Big time. I'm going to do my first point, which links to yours nicely. This is the first game I've watched for the Eagles in a long time where they have been completely bullied at the line of scrimmage. They were out-physicaled. And out-physicaled, is that a word?
Sure.
They were physically dominated. They were physically inferior in so many reps in the second half. And Fangio, Shane, was bringing 6-man fronts, 4 defensive tackles. That's why Byron Young played a godly amount of snaps. They just got bullied for line of scrimmage. And Jaden Carr will make a difference. Nolan Smith will make a difference. Don't care how good your scheme is. Don't care how good your secondary is. Don't care how good Cooper DeJean is. Quinion Mitchell is. You don't win if you get bullied in this league that badly. They got beaten up by a Giants team, which was quite scary to see. And that's something we need to watch out for. So I've got a lot of examples I could show, honestly. I'll show a few very quickly. Play 8. I always like it when we can look smart. So we both mentioned how the Eagles get killed by outside runs from condensed looks. And guess what? They got killed by an outside run from condensed look. Look at Andrew Makuba here, take on the tight end. Just taken for an absolute ride. Look at Cam Scatterbo and Zach Bourne. We love Zach Bourne on this podcast. We know how good he is. But to get out physicals, Makuba is a little bit embarrassing there. Bourne gets sent. Like, we can laugh at Scatterbo, and yeah, the taking off the shirt and stuff's a little bit cheesy, but they physically outdone the Eagles. There was this play, then plays 10 and 11, just back to back. Like, they're rough. This is just end of game, under center, fullback. We're going to hit you. Byron Young ends up on the floor. Campbell doesn't make it. They're hitting guys. Makuba gets taken for a spin again by a tight end. He's going to come up in a separate point of mine. And then play 11, I think, is even worse because Makuba gets a free shot on Scatterbo. And it's just like, get off me. Like, guys are moved once again here at the line of scrimmage. 94 again. 90, Jordan Davis moved. Makuba doesn't really want anything to do with that. Adoree Jackson on the goal line had a play.
Can you please put your arm around the dude instead of throwing your back into it?
Yeah, we said about injuries, man. I don't know you can live like that at his weight. Adoree Jackson had a snap in the red zone, also in the goal line, where he didn't want to really tackle him. They got out physical, as I mentioned, and
I would have considered cutting Adoree Jackson after that play to send a message. That's indefensible. And now he's apparently going to start this week.
And the thing is, they haven't got many. If Quignon's out, Shane, what are they going to do? They can't. They haven't really got anyone. But it's very rare for the Eagles to see that. They build in the trenches over years, and there's only so much you can do as a schematic guy. It doesn't matter how good Fangio is. If you lose a line of scrimmage that badly, you will lose a lot of football games. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let me go to my second point then. So you mentioned Zadarius Smith retires after this game. Comes ring chasing in Philly, and after 4 weeks, he's like, I am out. I'm going to the beach. And you could tell watching this game. I don't know. Like, his snap count was so low. Like, did he know he was retiring before this game? And the Eagles were like, come on, Jalen Carter's out. Just play 20 snaps for us.
Robinson played more than him. So
yeah. So is it an injury thing that, like, he just doesn't want to rehab through to be able to play? I don't know, and I'm not going to try to speculate, but it's certainly weird. So let me preemptively give you a definitive answer to the question that everybody is going to ask, which is, can they move Jihad Campbell to edge and play Nakobe Dean at off-ball linebacker?
No.
And the answer is a resounding heck no. And so, first of all, Jonny, what is the strength of Jihad Campbell?
Playing in coverage.
Yeah. What's his weakness?
Probably pass rushing at the moment, or playing downhill quickly.
Run defense. So yeah, let's not make him an edge. Just saying. But
what I love, Shane, is the fact we don't talk before these podcasts, and I knew exactly where you're going to go. Yeah. It'd be quite funny if you were like, "Oh, I was going to say yes." I'd be like, "Oh, that's awkward."
I should have done that. I'm going to change it up on you one time. But the film don't lie, as they say. So. Here we go. We've got Jihad Campbell lined up as an edge on the right side of the screen. Number 82 is a tight end. And I just want you to see how stonewalled he is by this tight end in the past game.
Yeah, it's bad.
So that's not an edge rusher. Well, Bryce Huff maybe, but that's not an edge rusher. But also, let's talk about run defense, because now here he is on the right side of the screen. And again, this is a tight end. Watch him get washed out by a tight end in the run game right here. He cannot set the edge in the run game. He can't rush from the edge.
Which has been a problem all year long, setting the edge in the run game.
And perhaps this one's unfair, but I was just searching my timeline for reps of him at edge, and this is back from the Cowboys game when he was the edge. Watch him take on this puller. And I will admit he's improved a lot against the run since then, but he's just not physical enough to play on the edge. And so,
do you know a random thought I had watching this game was, it's almost weird, but we don't really do the Zach Ball and dropping down into edge anymore. We use Campbell a little bit more. And there's a part of me that feels like, oh, we might go back to what we did before. Like, I wonder if it's almost like tempting because Bourne's so good in coverage that you're like, do it with Campbell because the offense isn't expecting it. But sometimes, like, versatility can be a bad thing. And this is not Campbell's fault, but I almost wonder if, like, we'd be better if he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because they'd have to use Bourne a bit. Yeah, it's a tricky one. But yeah, no, he's not playing edge.
No, he's not. And also, once Nolan Smith's back, I still think you might be fine. You're going to have Nolan Smith. I'll get into this in my next point. Actually, I'm just going to do my next point right now. Too. I'll tie them together. So my third point was how to fix the defense. And I'll be honest, the defense is less concerning to me. Thursday night was embarrassing, and they got out physical like you talked about, and that sucks.
Just quickly, Shane, look at the talent by the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You had no Jalen Carter, no Quinyon Mitchell. Like, no Jalen Carter, no Quinyon Mitchell. Do you look at the players they had out there? a secondary of Adore Jackson, Keely Ringo, Reed Blankenship, and Andrew Makuba, like they're not going to be that good, whoever the DC
Right.
is. We said this in the offseason. They lost so many guys on defense. People laughed at Slay, getting old, still very good. I know George Gardner-Johnson's an idiot, but can play. He's better than Makuba right now, which might be controversial. I don't know, but he's obviously more of an idiot, and I don't want him back.
By the way,
they lost Milton Williams and Josh Sweat.
By the way, he
who are
just got
really
cut
good.
by the Ravens.
Yeah, he did, because he's an idiot. And Milton Williams and Josh Sweat are like really good. And they're playing really well on their new teams. So they just didn't have the talent. But sorry, finish.
Yeah, we do the thing where it's like last year everybody's like, Milton Williams is awesome. The Eagles should pay him. And as soon as he gets paid, they're like, oh, he wasn't that good. It was all Jalen Carter.
JMO's better anyway. Yeah.
And he's third in defensive tackle pass rush win rate this year. Josh Sweat is fourth at edge rush pass rush win rate. And so they lost some talent. And by the end of that game, well, really by the end of the first quarter of that game, 2 of your best 3 defensive players are sidelined with an injury. Now, that's not an excuse because the Giants were calling up practice squad receivers in this game. And so it was a pathetic performance. But getting out physical does happen. Anybody that's played team sports, you've been in a game where it just doesn't go your way for whatever reason. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. Short week, road, your stars are banged up, whatever. I trust Fangio to bring that back and to hold guys accountable. That's going to get fixed. Other things you need to do on Andrew Makuba's got to stop busting coverages. He's been terrible. And I think you keep playing him because he's a rookie and he's playing probably the most difficult position in a really complicated defense. And his issues aren't related to effort. It's mental lapses. It's coverage busts. But he's got to play smarter. And I think reps helps that. That's why I don't think you would bench him. Not to mention that would mean you're putting Sidney Brown on the field instead. But I would expect him to get better as the season goes along. And then when you talk about CB2, you can hide a bad cornerback too between Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. You just got to have Quinyon Mitchell healthy, and maybe he won't be on Sunday. He's, I think, questionable right now. But then we talk about the defensive line. And you might need an edge now that now that Zadarius Smith retired. You might for depth purposes, but once Nolan is back, you have Nolan Smith, you have Jalix Hunt, you have Josh Uche, you have Azeez Ojulari. Like, that's fine. Nolan Smith is got some upside. The other 3 guys are like solid 6 out of 10 guys. You're probably not getting a better guy unless you swing big, which I don't know that the Eagles are going to do. But I think they need a defensive tackle. Byron Young is averaging almost 20 snaps a game, and he's virtually unplayable. And so they need to flip a day 3 pick for a defensive tackle. And then beyond that, I think they just need to let Fangio keep adjusting. And I do think the defense is going to be fine. It's not going to be what it was last year. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean gave an unrealistic expectation to Eagles fans for what rookies will come into a defense and do. And we're seeing with Jahad Campbell and Andrew Makuba the growing pains from rookies. And Jahad Campbell, I think, has been pretty good. It was a rough game on Thursday, but I think he's been pretty good. There's just some things he struggles with. Andrew Makuba struggled a lot. And I think those guys are going to get better. And so how you fix the defense, to me, there's one personnel move that needs to be made, and that's getting someone better than Byron Young to take his snaps. Other than that, I trust Fangio to figure out the defensive rotations and things.
Yeah, that leaves it to me to end on a lovely negative note. But you nailed it. And I want to talk a little bit about 2 things. And I'm going to be quick because, as always, we're going to be under an hour, which is good because we are actually making it a thing this year because we've got so much stuff on Patreon to get to, which is awesome. And I need to go and watch the Vikings so I can watch a very different offense and a very different offensive coordinator. I'm going to talk about Makuba, first of all. I don't want to pick on a rookie. I have no interest in picking on a rookie. None of this is personal. None of this means his career's done. I didn't think he was worth the 2nd-round pick, personally. I think he was my safety 4. There were guys I liked ahead. I was surprised they did it. But I felt the one thing they were going to get was they were going to get a guy who was really good in coverage. I've already showed him in run defense. You can see that. I've heard people say he's good in run defense, and I disagree. He's good when he's not blocked. He's really good at getting downhill quickly. When he's blocked, he's bad. But the coverage stuff, Shane, is a little bit weird. And I know he's a rookie and people just get better. So, like, he could be brilliant in 6 months, in 6 weeks, in 6 days. And I also know that Fangio's system is complicated, but he has a real issue. And I know the coaches will be on him for it. And Fangio has spoken about it in press conferences because Fangio doesn't hold back. His understanding of, like, routes in his vicinity are really weird. So if you look at play 9, I'm sure you remember this play live because the announcers were absolutely loving Dart's throw with a free rusher, which, to give him his credit, it's a really good ball. Like, it's a really good throw. But I assumed live, right? Makuba's in man coverage, he just got beat. And I'm assuming you thought the same as well, because the TV copy we had, it looked like a classic, oh, well, he got beat. But I don't know how much you watched this play, but he doesn't get beat. He tries to jump the other guy's route. And this is something he did literally, 2 weeks ago against the Bucks, and gave up a long touchdown because of it. He is desperately trying. Does he want to pick 6? Does he want to be the hero? You could talk about Fangio's scheme is complicated. That's just like instincts. That's not scheme. That's not you're being asked to play tricks coverage and they're running trips other side and you're confused. You know that they had the one, who was it? Was it against Washington? The down the field shot when we spent about 10 minutes saying who actually was at fault for this. Can you remember the play I'm talking about? When, like, was it Quinion? Was it Blankenship? Was it Makuba? This isn't that. Yeah. Look at how he plays this. He sees Dart's eyes. If you pause it before the ball is thrown, he jumps on the tight end. He's going after Zach Blount or Cooper DeJean, whatever it was. He's going to one of their men. He's not worrying about his own guy. It's so weird. I'm pretty sure they're in man coverage here. And he has a guy one-on-one. And he just doesn't cover him because he's trying to jump another route. Like, at what point do you just... And I put this, do your own job? Like, stop worrying about intercepting something. It's a really weird rep, and I watched it a lot because I was like, am I being mean? Is he trying to jump the other route, or is he trying to get in front of the receiver? And the more I watched it, I don't know if you disagree with me, but I genuinely think he's trying to jump the slant rather than cover his own guy.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
It really does look like it, doesn't it? I was like, am I... And this is not a one-off. So forget the run defense stuff. He got bullied by Scatterbo. He got bullied by tight ends in this game multiple times. The coverage stuff's not good either. This was a really, really negative game from Makuba. And we mentioned about the Eagles having a window earlier on. I wouldn't bench him yet, but I wouldn't consider his starting spot guaranteed for the next month. I think if you think you can play Marcus Epps and you can get a 5 out of 10 every week who just does the right thing, even from his career point of view, you might want to sit him down. And final thing I mentioned, which ties into all of your points perfectly, quite simply the pass rush is a disaster right now. This was the worst I've ever seen the Eagles pass rush under Fangio, I think. They can do anything from a 4-man pass rush. I'm surprised Ty Robinson didn't play more because to me he looks like he has juice. Jadek Sun is not developing what we wanted as a pass rusher, and I think we have to remember he was the rawest of raw third-round picks as a former safety, and now they're asking him to be the guy at edge, which is not fair. Without Jalen Carter, suddenly Ajomo is getting doubled. Jordan Davis has never been a great pass rusher, and he's playing like 40 snaps a game, for God's sake. I'll just show one play that sort of summed it up to me. It was play 4, and everyone picked on Ringo for this one because his guy's wide open, and yes, he doesn't touch the guy down, which is an absolute joke. But count how long Jackson Dart has to throw this ball. When you're covering an in-breaking route from cover 3, there's nothing Ringo can do. Once the guy has got inside him past the linebackers, you can literally count it out. I think Dart is holding this ball for about 5 seconds, 4 seconds maybe, but it's so easy. And it's just one example of Dart got comfortable because the pass rush wasn't there. And I think if the Eagles want to compete this year, they have 2 things that can happen, Shane. Jalen Carter can go God mode. He can go complete freak, wreck game plans, that good. Not Aaron Donald, but not that far off, which we've seen before. And that will save their pass rush because he'll get doubled. All of a sudden, everyone else will get individual matchups. The other thing they can do is they can go out and get someone else. And I don't know if they'll be able to get anyone good, but that's the other thing they can do. I think there's 2 things. If Jalen Carter doesn't become God and they don't get anyone else, the pass rush is not going to be good enough this year. Doesn't mean the defense will be terrible because schematically they're very good. Fangio can bring pressure in other ways, but it's really hard to do it successfully without a 4-man pass rush winning. So at some point, we could talk about the secondary. We could talk about cornerback 2. We could talk about Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo. I would prioritize pass rush over cornerback 2. And overall, I would like to say apologies for how depressing some of that was this week. But I watched the Giants get hammered by the Saints badly. They are not a good football team, despite what people are now saying. I watched their receivers, Shane, against the Saints and the previous 2 weeks, and I called them unplayable. Like Lil Jordan Humphrey, Wandale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, these guys are unplayable. They lost 34-17 to that Giants team. Like,
The Saints put up more points on the Giants than the Eagles did.
we deserve to be negative. They were 1 of 9 on third down, the Eagles. They got hammered in Cam Scatterboo's taking off his shirt off the field with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Jackson Dart is like headbutting him, and I meant to enjoy watching this. It was a bad game, and sometimes you got to take it on the chin. Yakko commented, how do British fans deal with bad sports? There is a hell of a strong pub culture. Beer becomes liquor. And to be honest, Yakko, I would say we're more angry. I would say most of the analysis actually of the Eagles is pretty measured. I think English football fans at this point would be abusing players more, and there'd be team buses getting booed. I think the Eagles have got a lot of street cred, a lot of good stuff in the bank because of how they won the Super Bowl last year. So hello, they're going to be popular. But I don't think we're far off breaking point. Personally, they need to do something and they need to change it, and it needs to be pretty quick. Because if not, they're going to get beat badly this week by the Vikings, because the Vikings are a very good football team. And then they're going to play the Giants again. And if they get beat by the Giants at the Link, that will be wheels falling off time. So
It's wheels falling off time if they lose to the Vikings this week.
see, I would say the Vikings are a really good team. So if they play them well, I don't think it is. Depends who starts with the Vikings. If Carson Wentz beats them, then yeah. Carson Wentz, who might start because I think they actually like him more than JJ McCarthy for now, which is quite funny. I'm really looking forward to doing my deep dive today.
Yeah, I really hope JJ McCarthy plays because I've seen him play and it's bad.
I really want to watch Carson Wentz in the film room this week. I'm like really excited to watch it. So I'm ready to finish this and get into Patreon and start watching it.
All right, well, that is going to do it, folks. Hopefully, I said this on the post-game show, but I thought the worst possible outcome was the Eagles just lighting up the Giants, who doggedly played cover one man and thinking everything was fixed. That obviously did not happen. They got blown out by the Giants, and hopefully that is the type of loss that makes you take a hard look in the mirror and the Eagles come out with something different against the Vikings. But we'll see. And regardless of that result, the outcome on Sunday, we'll be here next week breaking it down, probably back on Wednesday at our normal time. If you would like more content like this, please be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. Just this week, I have posted a player spotlight on Jalix Hunt, watching all 41 of his defensive snaps. Today, I posted my pass game review, which was about 40 minutes, and I went into a lot of like how you can improve some of these basic concepts. Jonny is about to get on a Vikings preview. Eric will have an article out later this week, and so tons of great content there for you guys to check out. Patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. And other than that, we will catch you guys next week for another episode of On the Shane Page. Stay tuned and go Birds.